everybody, I'm Yuri and thank you so much for coming back to this channel. On this channel I talk about things that might seem quite deep and somewhat personal in order to hopefully help somebody out there feel less alone. It can be really hard to go through difficult situations, sad situations and painful situations, especially if you feel that you don't have anyone that you can talk to about issues and circumstances that you might be going through. Please read the disclaimer before continuing with this video, either on the screen or in the description box. Thank you. It's very hard to go through life, especially when you've experienced hard, scary, sad situations. There's nothing that I can say that can take the pain away from your experience, but I hope that in knowing that you are not alone in having gone through difficult circumstances, that it might help somewhat to encourage you to, I guess, take those experiences and turn them into positive experiences. What I mean by that is, when I was younger, I grew up in a very toxic, very scary environment. I had an abusive parent, and that parent would frequently hit me, shout at me, and make me feel like I wasn't supposed to live in this world. So every day I just felt this sense of like not belonging anywhere, and it was very difficult. It was hard, and because of that I haven't been formally diagnosed, but I'm pretty confident in saying that I have some form of PTSD. Whenever I see any child or any animal or anything that is, for lack of a better word, weaker, then if I see somebody like a child, an elderly person or an animal being mistreated, I feel like I'm going through my trauma again, because I put myself in their shoes, because I've been through that experience of being belittled and being abused physically, emotionally, mentally, in all the ways. So I feel it. So, you know, it's like it brings back all the memories, and I know that it is so difficult to live with that kind of pain, and I know I'm not the only one. I'm sure there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people who have gone through such experiences. But what I came to learn is that none of that was accidental. All of it was supposed to help me to become a person who can help other people who have gone through these experiences. Back then I didn't know, but now I know that it wasn't for nothing. And so if you're going through such experiences, I'm not saying that you have to use your experiences to help others, but that's just an option that you have that not everybody has, because not everybody grows up in a abusive environment, right? And you know, those people who grow up in a safe, happy, fulfilling, warm family or environment, they don't have that option to use, you know, the negative experiences to help other people. So I'm not saying that either of these two are good, but I'm just saying that if you have been through difficult experiences, please know that they weren't for nothing. you can use them. You can use any experience. You're the only one who knows what it's like to have gone through your experience. Even though I'm sure there are thousands of people who've gone through abusive environments, we've all had our own personal experiences from them. So for one person, it might feel a certain way. For another person, it might feel different. So two people who have gone through growing up in a violent household might be able to help other people, but in different ways. Like one might have gone through domestic violence, where another person might have gone through childhood trauma from, their abuse. So within abuse, there are lots of different types of ways that people have gone through their experience. What I want to reiterate is that your experiences have a purpose, and you have a purpose here on this earth to use your experiences to help others and to help yourself. Sorry, the camera cut off. I was saying that your experiences are all valid. So if you have suicidal thoughts or thoughts of, wanting to hurt yourself in some way, please know that while we all have our free will, so obviously I can't control what you do, please know that you are not alone and you are as valid as any other person. Our experiences are supposed to help us grow, and however difficult your experiences might have been, you are as valid as any other person out there. So what I want to say is, please don't feel like you're alone in this world, because we are all connected in some way. And if you are watching this video, then it was meant to be that you saw this video. Nothing happens by accident. Everything has its purpose. And so if you're watching this video, then there's a reason why you're watching it. It might be because you are supposed to show this video to somebody else, or that this video might be trying to tell you something. And I hope that it's helped, because I know that when I was going through those difficult situations of having been abused and losing my child and getting raped, so please know that you are not alone. You're not the only person going through difficult times. And I'm not saying this to invalidate what you have been through, because if you're watching this video, then I know that it must have been so hard, and I probably cannot put into words how difficult your situation, your experiences must have been. But I know that if you're watching it, if you're watching this, then it's a calling to come to a realization that you have a purpose here. You are not here to be belittled, is that the word? Belittled by your experience. You are here to be empowered by them, to overcome them, so that you can help other people. And there are different ways for different people that help them overcome their experience, because we're all different, and the reasons for having had those experiences are also different. Some people benefit from actually focusing on them, looking at them, and actually a lot of us do. There are quite a lot of us who have gone through difficult experiences, but we don't face them, and instead we kind of brush them under the rug. Like we try not to look at them, and they will come up over and over and over again, because that's a sign. If that's happening to you, that's a sign that your subconscious hasn't dealt with them. And in that case, you actually need to be looking at your experience, actually looking at them dead on and accepting them not as you, because you are not your experience, but it's just a part of an experience you had in your life. That it's kind of like alchemy. If you can change those experiences, the way you look at them, then actually you kind of see them as positive, like in a positive light. This isn't toxic positivity, in that I'm not saying to not look at how you feel about them. What I'm saying is that you need to be looking at how you feel about those experiences. For example, if you were abused, feel what it was like to have gone through it. I know it's traumatic, and you don't have to do this all in one go, because it's very scary. It can be very scary, going through them in small steps, and eventually when you can feel what it was like to have gone through those experiences, and then looking at it kind of as a separate person, the person that, for example, if you were abused as a child, look at that child as a different entity to you, because you're you in the now, and then that traumatized child is your past you, and it's not the you that you are right now. I hope that makes sense. And actually look at that child and talk to that child and tell that child how much you love them and how much you are grateful for them, because this is actually how I did it myself. But that moment that you accept that younger child, then that trauma no longer exists. For me, I still don't like when I see other children or animals getting abused, or the elderly or whatever. I still don't like it, and I still feel kind of angered by them. But I understand that because I went through this process of looking at my younger self, loving it, accepting it, it no longer causes kind of PTSD symptoms, like I don't feel like I'm back there again. That's kind of one of the ways that I dealt with these kinds of situations that I had been dragging for years and years and years, like 20 years. But it's gone now, like I still don't like it, but it doesn't trigger a PTSD response. And it's a spiritual kind of way to look at it. But my understanding is that we decide before we're born into the world certain experiences that we want to go through in order to grow, because we're all here to grow as souls. So children who have gone through abuse, while I'm 100% against that kind of behavior, and I absolutely do not subscribe to that kind of behavior, from adults, from my understanding, these children have decided to go through those experiences in order to learn something from them. So while it's horrible, it's still horrible, and I absolutely hate it, I try to understand and try to see from this perspective of the child's soul, that soul wants to experience this. Obviously the human doesn't, because we have feelings and we have egos, and egos aren't bad, by the way. We have egos in order to decipher what we like and don't like, and that's for another topic, for another video. But my understanding is that while it's really hard to watch or see that there are children who go through abuse, they came to the planet to experience these abusive experiences. What I learnt from my teacher is that I wanted to go through these experiences so that I know not to do it to the next generation. And I'm not saying that I would have done it, but because I went through it myself, I know firsthand what it's like to not have any control over yourself because you're a child and being abused and screamed at, hit, all of that stuff, because I know what it's like. I know what it would be like if I did it to my child, you know. And I'm hoping that I would have never done it anyway, but because I went through it, it's like 100 times more ingrained in me to not do that. And I also know that because of these experiences, I can teach other people too. Like, I can help people to heal from them because I've healed myself. So it's really important that we look at our experiences. But again, we don't want to dwell, because dwelling is like leads to overthinking. Overthinking leads to, you know, it could lead to depression or those kinds of illnesses. So it's really important to look at them, but in a constructive way, with the goal of actually healing. Because if you are not ready to heal your trauma, and you're thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, you're just going to get stuck, and it's going to go downhill from there. It's really difficult to help other people when they're not ready. An example is like, if there was somebody called Bob. I always use the name Bob because it's an easy name, and I'm sorry if you're called Bob and I'm using your name. Imagine somebody called Bob and they're going through depression, right? And they're your friend and you want to help them. But if Bob isn't ready to deal with the situation, with the emotions, with the feelings, with the trauma, then however much you try to help them, if they're not ready, then there's nothing you can do. And well, that's kind of harsh. That's a kind of a harsh way to put it. You don't want to burden yourself with their trauma, with healing their trauma if they're not ready. That's not your responsibility. You know, as a friend, what you can do is be there for them, but you can't do the work for them. And that's something that you just have to separate yourself. If you can't separate yourself, you're gonna end up trying to like carry their burden, and you're gonna be burnt out. So you don't want to do that. And please know that it's not your responsibility to do that. It's not your responsibility to take their trauma and carry it for them. That's essentially what you're doing if you try to heal other people when they're not even ready. So that's an important thing you want to keep in mind. I hope that I covered everything. I'm sorry if it was very rambly, because I'm a rambler. I tend to talk and talk and talk and talk until the cows come home. So thank you so much for watching. And if you're carrying any kind of trauma, please know that you are not alone at all. We have a community here and we can talk to each other. You know, put comments down below if you can help. You know, if you have any suggestions. This needs to be a loving community for everybody so that we can support each other. And I've talked for long enough, I'm sure, so I've probably bored you to death. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this has helped. And please feel free to like, subscribe and comment and do all of that stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you. I love you. Take care. Bye.